After 4 days of what was undoubtedly intense legal arguments for all concerned, including Prince Harry and Sir Elton John and others against associated newspapers, there is no judgment. At least not yet. And it won't be a surprise to most lawyers that there isn't a judgment yet, because Mr. Justice Nicklin has reserved judgment for several weeks. But don't be confused by thinking that judgment will be judgment on the case. This judgment, when it's handed down, will simply be on whether this case is going to a full trial or not, as well as some of the other things that were argued over the last 4 days. Commenting on the very notion of whether this will go to a trial, Mr. Justice Nicklin hinted that this would be massive and last a substantial period of time. So this may or may not be another clue in the judge's thinking in this case, because if this indeed could be a massive trial of very serious issues that would take a substantial period of time to hear, that, to me as a legal professional, suggests that there are some very serious issues to be tried, which almost invariably means that there will be a trial of those issues. Even if you get to court and there is some dispute of fact, some argument over whether something happened or not, then that is what the court refers to as an issue. And an issue is then something that needs to be decided at trial based on the underlying evidence. Now, you may remember from my previous videos that I mentioned the issue of limitation. And limitation works in a number of ways, and sometimes it's applied very strictly, and others it can be disapplied if there is a very good reason. Lawyers for the news company, of course, argued that these claims have been brought far too late and should be thrown out. But at the same time, Mr. Justice Nicklin has been reported to say that there's a difference between applying the time limits to discovery of alleged unlawful information gathering and the articles that resulted from those acts. Going on to say that it is clear what the claimants are not entitled to pursue because of limitation, but what they are entitled to pursue is slightly more nuanced than simply striking out references to the articles. Now, ironically, the potential difficulties, potential inconsistencies, and potential contradictions in this case may be what ultimately leads it to a trial after all. You see, on the one hand, with limitation being a fiercely fought point of law, secondly, evidence that is being relied upon which was potentially inadmissible, being perhaps a trial point in and of itself. And thirdly, with witness statements which, as you remember from my previous video, appear to be entirely contradictory, that again could be an issue for trial, which, as obvious as it sounds, cannot be resolved without such a trial. So whilst this judgment, as in whether this is going to trial or not, is not likely to be handed down for several weeks yet, it does seem to me that there are some very serious allegations, there are some very serious points of dispute, which ordinarily will be resolved at trial. However, the judge in this case is obviously going to have to consider all of these factors, including limitation, the issue of fairness, as in whether it is fair for the newspaper to face these issues at trial after the limitation period, weighed, of course, against the fairness for the claimants in this case, and the seriousness of the issues to be tried. So for now, it seems there's going to be several weeks of probably painful waiting on both sides to see what Mr. Justice Nicklin decides. And just before you go, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everybody that signed up to Profify, linked in the description below. We are really excited for all of you to sign up, and I've had lots of questions about it. For example, can you use Profify to consolidate and store all of your evidence that you might use in court later? That is exactly what the app is designed for. It's for you to store the evidence that you might need later. It will output it into a neat PDF with a unique reference number, so if you make a witness statement, you can refer to each piece of evidence individually, uniquely behind your witness statement, which is exactly how you would do it in court. We're also continually developing the system because we're also going to build in a system for witness statements by templated systems, whereby we will ask you certain questions, you put in certain details and information, and it will help you to construct your witness statement with the evidence that will go behind it because you've stored it on Profify. It's linked in the description below. The early bird is around until the end of April. Please do sign up. And once again, thank you to all of you that have signed up already to support us on this new app journey. And in the meantime, thank you for watching.